Welcome to Lagniappe, a program about events, issues, and people. I'm Cory Crowe. I'm joined today by Dr. Lee Hersey and Meredith McKinney, both of the University of Louisiana Monroe. Welcome. Thank you both for being with us today on Lagniappe.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
You've got a event that's coming up over a number of months, and Meredith, it is called Who Gets to Vote? I guess the name kind of says it. What's it about?
It's the full title is Who Gets to Vote? Conversations on the History of Voting Rights in America, a library reading and discussion program. So a simple way to describe it would be it's a book club, kind of, right? So we were secured this through the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities, a grant that purchased the books. And we're going to look at the topic of voting rights, starting with the text, right? So each month we're going to read a different book, and we're going to discuss themes from that book at the community discussions.
So this is going on through October, and numerous books. Dr. Hersey, what's the first book everybody's reading?
So the first book is called The Embattled Vote in America, From the Founding to the Present, and it really looks at way back when, as they were framing the Constitution, all the conversations that were had about who gets to vote. And ironically, a little spoiler from the book, but you might know it, there's not actually a right to vote written into the Constitution. So it explores all that, builds on that foundation, helps takes us where we are today.
Let's talk about that. So the Constitution doesn't have that built in it. I'm trying to remember back in history. Was it landowners that got to vote and then nobody else at the beginning?
It varied a lot, but yes, landowners, property owners were a big piece of it. Then it shifted a little bit to those who paid taxes but didn't necessarily own land. But it was very much an economic piece, and that eliminated obviously a good portion of our population because women were excluded, people of color, whether African Americans, whether they were slave or free, as well as our Native American Indian population.
Meredith, I want to ask a little bit about why you guys have decided to do a series on voting. Why do you think it's important?
Well, it's a hot topic right now. You might have heard about it. Yeah. And I think foremost, working at the university, we believe in educating people primarily on history and facts, right? We also are very invested in this community and bringing different groups of this community together. So we recognize that we all bring unique backgrounds and perspectives to the table, and that for a functioning democracy, you have to value the collective, and we have to talk to each other, right? So we wanted to promote these discussions to explore that shared history around voting rights. Because I think with rights, if you've always had them, they've never been in peril, right? You might not have thought about it. And it's definitely something to think about, considering in our community and particularly at this campus, the percentage of minorities and women that we have here.
Dr. Hersey, you and I were talking before we got going, and you said something to me and it kind of stuck. And I wanted to ask you, what is different now than like 250 years ago when we got America started?
Unfortunately, not much. There are the same kinds of questions keep coming up about who gets to vote. And, back then they were talking about whether aliens, foreigners could vote or not. And we had those conversations, natural-born citizens versus naturalized citizens, and whether they can vote or not. How do you show that you are the person that you're supposed to be when you're voting? That comes up to it. And we're still having those conversations today about who gets to vote, how do we prove who we are, voter ID, accessibility to voting. A little nuance, but still the same conversations.
The event is coming up, the first event coming up tomorrow night. Meredith, what time are you getting together?
Yes, so tomorrow night at 5 p.m., we will meet at the ULM Library in room 458. And I really want to stress here, while it is essentially a book club, it is also a community discussion. And the prompts, the questions, will be for everyone, whether you've read the book or not. We encourage people to come, even if you're one of those people, which many avid readers are, where you got halfway through it and life happened, right? We encourage you to come, even if it's just you just want to listen. We need to start having these conversations, and we really want to promote face-to-face interactions about topics that can be contentious.
So you get started tomorrow, 5 p.m. at the ULM Library, room 458. Now, I want to ask a little bit about what is coming up in the future. You've got this thing going through October. So what are some of the other topics that will be coming up over the next few months?
Okay, so our second book, that discussion is going to take place on Tuesday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. We're going to be reading The Woman's Hour, The Great Fight to Win the Vote. That's particularly on the history of women's suffrage. Then in September, we're going to meet Bending Toward Justice in that book, and by G. May, and that book is about the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And then in October 11, we're going to read Vanguard, How Black Women Broke Barriers, Won the Vote, and Insisted on Equality for All. And that's all about the history of black women's influence on the vote.
Dr. Hersey, if somebody out there wanted to attend these sessions, it's a book club. Are you supposed to read the book before you show up? How does this work?
Well, we obviously encourage people to read the book, but we also understand that, not everyone might have that chance. So we encourage everyone to come. If you need a copy of the book, I think we have a couple of left.
Yes, I have about 7 left. I can order more for the other discussions. All you do is email McKinney, McKinnie, at ulm.edu, and I will make sure you have a copy. And I want to note, too, you do not have to attend all of the discussions. You can pick and choose and come to one or the other.
That's Dr. Lee Hersey and Meredith McKinney. Who Gets to Vote? Going on at the University of Louisiana Monroe. Again, Meredith, for folks to find out more and get involved in this and the other events coming up in the future, where can they go to learn more?
You can email me, McKinney, McKinnie, at ulm.edu. You can also go to our Facebook page, Who Gets to Vote? Conversations on the History of Voting Rights in America.
And to find out more about this and other Lagniappe events, be sure and visit KEDM.org. You'll find them on our event page, and also you can find out more about these events. This is 90.3